Now, I've long said for years on this channel that Deontay Wilder's skill level is actually underrated. Prior to him knocking out Luis Ortiz, Wilder was still widely viewed by maybe even the majority of boxing fans as a bit of a joke and somebody who had so many glaring technical flaws that the first time he stepped in the ring against a polished elite level heavyweight, he would be completely undressed and exposed. This was the narrative that was running with regards to Deontay Wilder for years. I mean, I lost count of the number of people in my Facebook boxing group, the old one, which has, since been taken down. I lost count of the number of people who would make posts saying, Wilder's a fraud, Wilder can't fight, Wilder can't box, he's an accident waiting to happen. I mean, the amount of debates I got into with people who would say stuff like that, was ridiculous. What people from very early on could not get their heads around is that despite the fact Deontay Wilder looks ungainly and clumsy, the fact remained that he was consistently landing his right hand and taking people out. The fact that he was able to consistently land his right hand, even in fights he was losing or fights in which he was having trouble, that shows you a level of offensive skill. Yes, it does. It may not look pretty, but there's timing behind it. There's tactics behind it. There's technique behind it. If there wasn't, he wouldn't be able to land that right hand time and time again on opponents who look far more technically polished than he does. Yeah? It's like from when he fought Berman Stavern. Stavern is far more fundamentally sound and more textbook in his technique than Deontay Wilder. But yet Wilder was able to beat him handily on the scorecards. Wilder fought, several other people during his title reign before Ortiz who were technically more polished than him, but he was still beating these guys. So people just couldn't get their head around the fact that a guy who looks as wild and clumsy as Wilder sometimes does could be, beating technically good heavyweights. Now, obviously, the guys he was fighting were not the elite, but again, they were still technically more polished than Wilder. I say all that to say this. Not only is Deontay Wilder's skill underestimated, but perhaps even his defense specifically is underestimated and is actually far better than people give him credit for. Now, if we go back and look at some of Deontay Wilder's fights, the Berman Stavern fight, he didn't get hit much in that fight. The Eric Molina fight, he did catch some shots. That was one of the rougher fights for him. Managed to take Molina out finally in the 9th. Johan Duopa, now he did get hit with some jabs in that fight, but he wasn't getting hit with a lot of clean headshots. If you look at Duopa when he fought Robert Helenius, for example, Robert Helenius was getting caught with a lot of clean headshots. Helenius, very similar height and reach to Deontay Wilder, or certainly height anyway. So was only getting caught with jabs, but right hands and power shots, no, he was able to avoid those from Duopa. Artur Szpilka, Deontay Wilder really wasn't getting hit with anything from Szpilka other than, a few jabs here and there. Finished the fight pretty much unmarked. Now, he did have issues with Szpilka's movement, having trouble pinning him down. He eventually landed that tremendous right hand and knocked him out cold. The Chris Arreola fight, he hardly got touched against Arreola. Took a few body shots, but in terms of headshots, he wasn't taking nothing. Gerald Washington wasn't really taking many shots in the fight. Again, a few jabs here and there, but Deontay Wilder's never been like an Arturo Gatti. He's never been a Brandon Rios or a Margarito who goes in there and he's taking loads of punches. No. Wilder is a guy who, even though his defense looks awkward as hell, and it looks far from textbook, all right? people for years were circulating this video, which has Teddy Atlas in it talking about Deontay Wilder's technical flaws. What they didn't show is the part after that where Teddy Atlas talks about Deontay Wilder's strengths. They only wanted to focus on the flaws. People became obsessed with Deontay Wilder's technical flaws. This was a massive mistake people were making. Wilder doesn't get hit with a lot of clean power shots. Yeah, you can catch him with a jab here and there, but you're not going to be, rocking this guy's head around like a bobblehead doll. Very difficult to get to him. Yeah, it's like Muhammad Ali, right? I'm not saying Wilder's anywhere near as gifted as Muhammad Ali in terms of his movement and speed, and I'm not saying he's anywhere near as great a fighter, but Ali was somebody who did so many things that were wrong from a textbook fundamental point of view. Pulling his head back from punches and doing all this kind of stuff, which trainers, particularly at the time, said was completely wrong. He shouldn't be doing that. But Ali had the reflexes and athleticism to make that work for him. Guess what? Deontay Wilder has a similar kind of situation where he has reflexes in this era of giant heavyweights, which allow him to minimize the amount of big shots that he takes. Deontay does block some punches with his arms and gloves, but he also, particularly when he fights shorter heavyweights, he pulls his head out of range. And that seems to work for him most of the time. He doesn't get caught with a lot of big shots. Certainly didn't in the Gerald Washington fight. Didn't in this Stiverne rematch, only went one round. Against Luis Ortiz, he took big shots towards the end of, round 5 or round 6 or something, the round that he got hurt. Round 6 it must have been. I think it was the round after he dropped Ortiz, right? So there was one round in there where he took a few, clean power shots. But other than that, Wilder wasn't getting beaten around the ring all over the place by Ortiz. And Ortiz is a skillful guy. So again, people are underestimating Deontay Wilder's defense. His ability to stay away from taking big shots is underestimated. Again, it doesn't look pretty, what Wilder does, but it's effective. Same thing in a Tyson Fury fight. Yeah, Fury caught him with some shots. He caught Fury with some shots. It was tit for tat. There wasn't much in it in terms of punches landed. And truth be told, it was a low volume fight. Neither guy landed a lot of punches in the fight. It was low volume. You go back and watch that fight. That wasn't the thriller in Manila. It had some dramatic moments, but for the most part, neither guy was landed a lot. Yeah? And that's testament to both of their defenses, truth be told. The Dominic Brazil fight, that was over in a round. So, yeah. My point is, I think Deontay Wilder's defense is underrated. And look, how do you define defense? Some people are going to say, well, if you're not doing the right things technically, then your defense is poor. But another way of defining defense is just the ability to not get hit with a lot of clean punches. By whichever means you manage to do that. And Deontay Wilder certainly not trying to pull no Philly shell. He's certainly not slipping and blocking and throwing catch and shoots and stuff like that. No, he's not that defensively advanced. But what he does do in using his legs and pulling out of the way of punches and sometimes just putting his arms up to block is pretty effective. In fact, I would go as far as saying Deontay Wilder is better defensively than Anthony Joshua is. Yeah. There might be certain situations in the ring where Joshua's better defensively, but overall, I would say Wilder's better defensively than AJ. I mean, if you look at, yes, AJ's been fighting a higher level of competition than Deontay Wilder for the most part. That's true. But AJ was getting caught in the Dillian Whyte fight. AJ got caught in the Klitschko fight. AJ was getting caught a lot in the Alexander Povetkin fight. He got caught a lot in the Andy Ruiz fight. So again, I know people are going to argue that these are generally higher level opponents than Wilder's been facing. Okay, fair enough. You're going to get caught more. But I do get the feeling that Deontay Wilder's reflexes give him a defensive advantage over AJ. I think he's got quicker reflexes, at least when it comes to defensively, and also landing that big right hand. Doesn't mean Deontay Wilder's a better fighter than Anthony Joshua. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. There's a long way to go in this heavyweight era before we find out what's what and who's who. At the moment, it's all up in the air. I know there's a lot of people now who believe in Deontay because AJ lost and Fury didn't look good against Wallin. But people, it's like Daniel Dubois actually said the other week. There is no number one heavyweight right now. They need to all fight each other. And then once the dust clears, then we'll see who the number one is. Far too premature to be saying that one guy already is definitively the best in the division. That's all nonsense. It might not be any of the guys who we're talking about right now. The best guy in this era might not be Wilder, AJ, or Fury. It might end up being somebody else who springs up out of nowhere and surprises us all. You know, it might end up being Hrgovic, might end up being Usyk. You know? You have to wait and see. But I've been saying this for a long time, and that's why I wanted to make this video. Don't underestimate Deontay Wilder's defense. I think people are coming around now to realizing that Wilder is not as bad as people were making him out to be for years. Defensive. I'm not saying he's a defensive whiz, okay, at all. And it would have been very interesting to see Deontay Wilder fight Klitschko, by the way, because he was, according to several people who witnessed it, dropped multiple times in sparring by Vladimir Klitschko and didn't fare very well. He avoided the Klitschko fight. He ducked the Klitschko fight for years. Klitschko, of course, very technically good. One of the best jabs in heavyweight history. Tremendous puncher himself. Had thunder in both hands. Somebody with those kind of dimensions. And Klitschko had good foot speed himself. I know Wilder's got very quick feet. Klitschko had quick feet too. A guy who can move around like Klitschko and keep Wilder on the end of a very hard jab would have been very interesting. Very, very interesting. It's just a shame that Wilder and or his team, or maybe his team and or Wilder didn't fancy that fight and avoided it like the plague. It's a shame because that's one I would have actually liked to watch. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.